Hello, and welcome to another edition of No Lights Paranormal, where three nerdy paranormal investigators sit down and discuss spooky stories from the web. My name is Joe, the lead investigator.
My name is Teresa. I am your researcher.
And my name is Alex, the Baba Yaga enthusiast and equipment setter-upper.
And as we learned last night in the investigation, that is required.
Right.
I
also know how to turn on living room light switches.
Yeah, shout out to Ezra, who doesn't.
Yeah, no, I forgot all about that one. I was like, light switch?
He's got a long way to go to help equipment set up.
That's okay. So yes, you guys heard it correctly. We did, in fact, do a private investigation last night here in Ohio. We still have yet to review all of our evidence. We got home pretty late in the evening, and it is pretty early for us this morning. We don't usually record this early, but everybody's got work and grown-up things to do, so, you know.
Yep, unfortunately.
Adulting sucks.
So that's where we stand.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Why don't you hit us with the spooky news?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we've got the Poasttown Elementary. This one, they're doing actual public ghost hunts every single first Friday of the month for the rest of the year. That would be June 6th, July 11th, August 8th, September 5th, October 3rd, so on and so forth. It is hosted by Eerie Excursions, which is two pretty interesting ladies who just really love the paranormal and would like to show it off. They've been putting on paranormal events for the last 10 years or so. They've combined their forces and started up Eerie Excursions. Limit their guest list to 10 to 25 people. They put on special holiday events and things like this. Well, this one is at the very well-known and haunted Poasttown Elementary School at 6600 Trenton Franklin Road in Middletown, Ohio. It is free parking. You can take a walk-through flashlight tour for a preview of the history and the hauntings for just $20. You can grab a 4-hour private investigation ticket, meaning you go investigate. No tour guides, nothing like that. $35 for 4 hours. Or you could amp it up, stay the whole night from 7 p.m. to 3 o'clock a.m. for just $75, and you get all of the above for that price. Next, we've got Madison Seminary Public Hunt. This one is June 13th at 6:30 p.m. until 3:30 a.m. the next day, hosted by Adam Kimmel, who is a very nice fella and owns Madison Seminary. He is using, obviously, all the profits to restore the building, which is phenomenal, and they've been making some progress. This one is located at 6769 Middle Ridge Road in Madison, Ohio, and tickets are $92.55 a piece. This one is selling out fast. They are providing pizza and beverages, doing a few group rotations with staff, and then you get a free roam throughout the building. And then equipment is available to rent if you do not have your own. Riley Shoe Paranormal Fair, June 14th from 12 to 6 p.m. at 14 Gallagher Avenue in Logan, Ohio. Says, join us at the Riley Shoe Paranormal Fair for a day of spooky fun and mystical experiences. So this one looks like it might be pretty cool. They got psychic readings, tarot card sessions, energy healing demonstrations. You get to meet the talented mediums and clairvoyants and be ready to connect with the spiritual realm. Oh, and it also says, don't miss out on our crystal vendors, offering unique and powerful gems. Sunday, June 29th, the Ross House Sleepover and Town History Walk. This one definitely looks fun. This is the Bel Air House at 2011 Belmont Street in Bel Air, Ohio. They're going to be looking over the Ross House, the sleepover with the cemetery, the monument walk, all kinds of good stuff. They do provide equipment if you need to bum it. And then, of course, all kinds of spine-tingling tales. This one is $85 per person.
That's not bad, actually.
It's really not. And the Ross House is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
No,
Ross House, Bel Air House, they're both the same thing.
I've heard of other ghost hunting things like that. It costs over $100, so 85 ain't that bad.
Yeah, it's not. And it is, from what I understand now, under slightly new ownership, which made a huge difference because before it was a little more money hungry.
Okay.
And these days, it's more about the history.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So I like it. Yes, indeed. So, yeah. Let's hear it. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first this time.
I dig it. Let's go.
Just because I feel like I have a very interesting article that will, for these two especially, because they're music buffs. But mine is The Music and Paranormal, Echoes from the Other Side. Strange combination? Maybe not. Music and the paranormal have more in common than you might think. Both are made of energy and memory. Both live in the invisible air, moving through us with the force that can shake the soul, and both, in the right place and time, can bring the past rushing back in a wave of emotion that feels uncannily real. Philosopher Susan Langer once wrote that music reflects the forms of human feeling, the tensions, the ambiguities, the contrasts, and the conflicts of feeling life. In plain English, music sounds like emotions feel. That's why it's often that's why it's so often tied to our deepest memories. The first kiss, the heartbreak, the funeral. But think about this. If music resonates that deeply with the living, how might it affect those who exist as pure memory? Ghosts, after all, aren't made of flesh, they are made of feeling. Across the country, there are stories of spirits stirred by sound. At the Knickerbocker Hotel in Lionsville, PA, during a recreation of its 1882 grand opening, the pianist played period music on stage. Witnesses say that the ghost of the original owner, Milo Arnold, emerged from the wall, took a look around, nodded in approval, then disappeared.
Nice.
In Wilder, Kentucky, at an infamously haunted Bobby Mackey's Music World, the anniversary waltz is known to play from the jukebox, even when the machine is unplugged, even after the record was physically removed.
Bobby Mackey's R.I.P. They tore it down.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And at Colorado Stanley Hotel, the haunted setting that inspired the haunting, guests still report hearing piano music late at night, drifting from the ballroom. The performer, believed to be Flora Stanley, long dead wife of the hotel's founder, still playing her beloved Steinway with invisible hands. Some ghosts were once stars. Sightings have been reported of Elvis, Buddy Holly, Jim Morrison, John Lennon, Liberace, Mama Cass, and Hank Williams. These spirits, if they linger, are often seen near stages, studios, or homes where they once lived and performed. Maybe they can't let go, maybe their music keeps calling them back, or maybe, just maybe, they're still waiting for one last encore. So some songs throughout history have been tied to the paranormal. These Gloomy Sunday by Buddy Holiday, known as a Hungarian suicide song. This melancholy tune was blamed for a wave of suicides in Europe in 1930s. Rumors say radio stations banned it for being too dangerous, and some believe that it still carries a dark energy. Love Roller Coaster by the Ohio Players. A woman's scream heard during a recording led to an urban legend that someone was murdered in the studio. Totally false, but the creepy scream remains on the final track. The Ghost Song by The Doors. Released I didn't write that down when it was released. But this track was built around a recording of Jim Morrison reciting poetry. The band added music later. Some fans claim they have heard whispers not captured in the original tapes, as if Morrison had more to say. My Sweet Prince by Placebo, allegedly inspired by a haunting experience involving a Ouija board. This song is steeped in sorrow, addiction, and a sense of spiritual unraveling. Long Black Veil, multiple artists. Country classic song by everyone from Johnny Cash to the band. The lyrics tell of a man executed for a crime he didn't commit, and his lover who walks the grave in a long black veil. Fictional, or is it? But of course, no conversation about music and morality is complete without the 27 Club. That strange constellation of supernovas who all burned out at around the same age. Robert Morrison, a bluesman said to have his sold his soul at the crossroads. Jimi Hendrix, guitar god of psychedelic prophet. Janis Joplin, wailing voice of heartbreak. Jim Morrison, the Lizard King himself. Kurt Cobain, grunge reluctant savior. Amy Winehouse, neo soul brilliance with an old soul pain. Y27, coincidence, karma, pneumology. Some blame drugs, some blame fame, some wonder if there's something more cosmic at play, a deal struck, or a pact expired. Robert Johnson especially lends fuel to the fire. A so-so musician in his teens, he vanished for a year, then returned to the Mississippi Delta with a guitar style so astonishing locals claimed he must have made a deal with the devil. Johnson learned leaned into the myth, recording songs like Me and the Devil Blues and Hellhound on my Trail, before dying under mysterious circumstances at, you guessed it, 27. So why does music linger? Because music is lingering, its vibration is and resonance, its energy that does not always fade when the amp is shut off. And if a spirit lives on a memory tied to emotion, perhaps familiar melody is enough to wake it and bring it drifting back into our world. One chorus, one chord, one eerie echo at a time. So the next time you hear a piano play in an empty room or your playlist glitches with an old forgotten song, listen closely. You may not be the only one hearing it.
I like that. And I agree.
Well, I thought it was I was like, that's actually really cool. So
I have heard numerous investigators who use very specific tunes that someone who was passed over was known to have really enjoyed. Like, for example, Elvis songs seem to stir a lot of spirits of ladies, from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Well, there's even an infamous picture of Elvis in his doorway while they're having like a get together on a patio after his death, and he's standing in the doorway, which leads credence that he's still alive, but most people take that as a paranormal picture.
It kind of depends on how conspiracy theory you want to go with that one.
Yeah.
Apparently Tupac owns an island somewhere.
He's still bringing out albums too. So.
He is. So yeah, But yeah, I don't know. I love it. That's good stuff.
Oh.
Good stuff. Well, what about you, sir? You want to go next or shall I?
Do it to
I
it.
got you.
Alex like, I'm not following that.
So I have discovered a pretty interesting. Now, we all know of this mansion, actually. We just are unaware that we know of it because it's been in, oh my God, countless music videos, countless movies. It's really, 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 really famous. It is the Greystone Mansion in Beverly Hills, California. So everyone knows Beverly Hills is this beautiful little manicured place, iron gates and the canopies of sycamores and oak trees. And within all of this loveliness lies this mansion that is just as opulent as it is ominous. Greystone Mansion has sweeping terraces, towering chimneys, and an English-style garden that whispers with the sounds of a trickling fountain. Greystone is a lot more than a historical estate, though. It's a legend. It's a place where wealth, tragedy, and whispers are all intertwined. So the whole story begins back in the 1920s. Los Angeles was pretty booming with oil at the time, and obviously oil in those days turned normal prospectors into absolute kings. Money flowed. It was crazy. So one such of these men was Edward Doheny. He was a titan of the oil industry, and his fortune came from drilling the first successful oil well in Los Angeles in 1892. He struck it rich, not just in California, but also in Mexico, and by the Roaring 20s, he had one of the most vast empires in the entire world. So his son, his only son, mind you, Edward Jr., whom we will call Ned for the sake of the story, because that was his nickname. Okay. Edward Sr. envisioned a home that would symbolize their family's power and legacy, a place fit for American royalty. And in 1926, he bought a parcel of land that would later become Trousdale Estates. This place is perched high above Beverly Hills, and it offers a panoramic view that stretches all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And it's nestled back in the hills, so it feels pretty secluded and pretty elite. And there is where Greystone Mansion would rise. Construction began in 1927. Very, very famous architect Gordon Kaufman, who is also known for his work on the Los Angeles Times building and the Hoover Dam. He was tapped for the project, and though Kaufman was primarily known for Spanish-style designs, they took a different path altogether with Greystone, and they went with a Tudor revival, complete masterpiece, honestly, reminiscent of English manor houses. And of course, this place, 46,000 square feet, filled with the absolute finest materials that money could buy. This place has got 55 rooms, a bowling alley, a billiard room, multiple theaters, secret passages, and a hidden bar. Obviously, it was built during Prohibition.
Yeah.
Construction cost exceeded $3.1 million. With inflation, that's equal today to about $65 million to build this place, making it possibly the most expensive residence in California. The mansion's walls are nearly 3 feet thick. They are constructed of reinforced concrete and faced with hand-carved Indiana limestone. The roof was made of concrete. It was topped with slate tiles that were imported clear from Wales, solid lead rain gutters, which, we know now that that's probably not the greatest idea, but, handcrafted chimneys, leaded glass windows adorned the entire structure. I mean, there's windows every frickin' where. Every detail was just craftsmanship and just absurd wealth. The mansion has multiple gardens, multiple waterfalls, multiple fountains, its very own fire station, tennis courts, kennels, and stables. Named it Greystone, both for its construction and apparently the entire project had sort of an imposing, somber feeling. So even being built, this place was a little darker than maybe it should have been. On February 16th of 1929, just 5 months after Ned and his wife Lucy moved in with their 5 children, something pretty awful happened.
Huh.
So at 10 o'clock p.m., Ned and his longtime best friend and secretary, a man by the name of Hugh Plunkett, were found dead inside the guest bedroom. According to the police, Plunkett had shot Ned and then turned the gun on himself in a deemed murder-suicide. But details never really did sit right, and with all the money flowing around the property, it was never really handled super well. It was kind of rushed, and things weren't done right. Reports suggest that before police arrived, the bodies were moved, possibly even staged in the position they were found in. It was also noted that the gun that was used belonged to Ned and not his friend Hugh. Further suspicion rose when Ned was denied burial in a Calvary cemetery, which is a Catholic cemetery, and Catholics consider death by suicide an absolute no-no, so they would not allow him to be buried there. Some have speculated that the murder was tied to the Teapot Dome scandal, which was a pretty major bribery incident where Ned actually played a role in delivering $100,000 cash to a government official named Albert Fall. Others believe there was a personal relationship between Ned and Plunkett that may have led to confrontation, or that Lucy, Ned's wife, may have discovered something scandalous and had a hand in the aftermath of what happened. Nobody knows for sure. Whatever the truth is, the stain on this place was absolutely permanent. It was no longer a symbol of power, but a crime scene. Lucy, widowed at only age 34, remained in the mansion for over 2 decades. She remarried, moved her new husband in, and they lived at Greystone until 1955. While the estate was still absolutely stunning, it was a lot quieter. More like a mausoleum of memory than, what it was. In 1955, Lucy sold most of the property to a developer named Paul Trousdale, who turned it into Trousdale Estates, and sold the mansion itself to Colonel Henry Crown, who was a Chicago industrialist. This man also owned the Empire State Building. His wife reportedly absolutely refused to move into the mansion after hearing about its grim history. So Greystone sat empty for about a decade. So he paid, millions and millions of dollars for this house, and his wife said, nope.
Common occurrence.
It happens. Though, obviously, the stone halls fell silent, the windows cracked, the doors, hung loosely on their hinges. Teenagers from Beverly Hills High School would sneak in through the broken gates. They, of course, circulated a lot of ghost stories and local legends, shadows seen in hallways, lights flickering in the rooms, and the mansion just seem to kind of remember all of these glory days. In 1965, the city of Beverly Hills purchased the estate from the Crown family for $1.1 million, which saved it from demolition, and a massive underground water reservoir was constructed beneath the parking lot, providing about 19 million gallons of water for emergency purposes for the city. In 71, Greystone officially opened as a public park. In 76, it was added to the National Registry of Historic Places. Then over time, it's obviously been used for filming location for lots of things. Just to name a couple, The Big Lebowski, There Will Be Blood, The Social Network, Batman and Robin, music videos for just everybody you can think of. The I Will Do Anything for Love Meatloaf was filmed there.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Now I'm definitely familiar with the
Yeah.
building in which we're talking about.
Now you know it. Mhm.
And that song is going to be stuck in my head all day.
It's true.
So
It's already
sorry.
there.
So sorry. And each production obviously had to pay a fee to be in the building, and that money went towards the restoration of the mansion.
Gotcha.
So in the decades since this murder, paranormal activity at Greystone has literally become legendary. Everybody in the Hollywood Hills talks about it. Lots of people are scared to even drive in front of this place. And other people are like, yeah, let's go. Like us. Crazy people who want to see it all. Disembodied voices, apparitions, phantom footsteps, an overwhelming feeling of dread have been reported by tourists, park rangers, film crews, actors, musicians, you name it. Everybody has had some sort of experience in this place. One of the most disturbing incidents was when they were filming National Treasure Book of Secrets, Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sound crew left equipment recording overnight by accident. When they reviewed the audio the next day, they heard a loud gunshot, followed by the sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor. The building was completely locked and nobody was inside.
Huh.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That is actually really cool.
I want to hear that audio.
I'll never hear it.
No, it's probably gone forever.
They did it purposely.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'd have done. Oops, sorry guys, didn't mean to do that. Let's just record it all night long. That would be me. A figure in the early 20th century attire was seen staring from an upstairs window on days that the mansion was closed to the public, so they're positive nobody was in it. There was a photographer who was standing in the room where the bodies were found, who got overwhelmed, became sick, and even vomited a lot from the smell of rotting flesh. There's no dead bodies in this house, folks.
Yeah, and that's a very distinctive smell.
It is awful. There is a woman in black. Here's another one of our ladies with colored dresses.
Oh, here we go.
Seen descending the grand staircase. They believe that this is Lucy Doheny herself, basically eternally mourning for her husband, or maybe just the loss of love because she's the one that shot them. We don't know.
Dun, dun, dun.
There's a park ranger witnessed faucets turning on and off by themselves and hearing whispers in empty hallways, feeling watched. He got touched. There was a really crazy chill in the room where the two had died. He just up and quit his job. He said, nope, I'm done. Not coming back.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Some believe that these are residual hauntings, like, the trauma etched in time. Others think they're completely intelligent and they're reaching out for justice, remembrance, or maybe just peace. Today, Greystone is a hell of a lot more than just a haunted house. It's literally a living monument. It's a park. It's an architectural marvel. And obviously, it's a pretty silent witness to the past. There is something called the Friends of Greystone, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving the estate. They've helped restore many, many parts of the mansion with remarkable attention to historic detail. I hope to resume public tours that did get paused after COVID-19. So I went and I looked, and it looks like, yes, they have indeed restarted public tours. So they allow guests to walk around some of the halls, stand beneath the carved ceilings, and peer into the rooms where history unfolded. So, yeah, beautiful, tragic, amazing.
Sounds very like the Beverly Hills equivalent of Stan Hewitt Hall, really.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Just a little.
Yeah. There's a couple of different other things that I picked up about, like an audio technician there was a private tour at one point, and this person went anonymous, didn't say who they were, but it's believed that this was a celebrity of some sort, and that's why they decided to be anonymous. Shared an experience that during a private tour, they witnessed a door open and close all by itself, and they were seeing flashes of light out of the corner of their eye. Walking down a hallway, they heard a very loud scream and then a growl. The visitor noticed that there was a pretty pervasive coldness that almost sort of followed them throughout the mansion, despite the fact that it was a beautiful, warm California day. There was an audio technician who I guess just happened to be with them that actually analyzed the phenomenon on the EVP and said that he did in fact believe that the scream and the growling were authentic and not faked or added in after the fact. Good stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad.
That's my story.
She's sticking to it.
I am
Cool.
sticking to it.
So it's almost like we planned that sequential order out on purpose.
But not really.
We really didn't. I like how you have music videos that ties to Joe's story, and then you talked about a black lady, and ironically, my story is all about a white lady.
You know, there's just all these women in dresses.
Look at that, fall in the contrast.
Just everywhere.
Actually, the one might be the most revered white lady that I've ever heard of.
Ooh.
Super cool story. Go figure. I found another vacation destination.
Here we go.
I feel like you're just looking those up on purpose now.
I'm going to have to win the
I
lottery. for all
might
these
be.
vacays.
Like, I don't think I do it on purpose. Like, I look for interesting facts about it. And then, like, as I'm reading the details of the facts, I'm like, oh, that makes me really want to go there.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys will understand towards the conclusion of this story. So I'll just get started.
Okay.
Let's do it.
On a quiet bend of the Maas River in the Dutch province of Limburg lies the village of Grubbenvorst. By day, it is a peaceful place of quaint streets and pastoral charm, but on certain misty nights, locals whisper an apparition in white wanders among the ruins on the hill. The crumbling stones, all that remain of medieval the medieval stronghold known as the Broken Castle, are said to be the eternal home of a restless spirit. Her name is Gertrude, remembered in local lore as De Wit Dam, the White Lady.
Wow, cool.
In particular, the White Lady of the Broken Castle. To this day, her story haunts the people of Grobenhurst, threading together history and legend in an eerie tapestry. So centuries ago, a proud castle stood on a man-made mound between Everloos Brook and River Maas, just south of Grubbenvorst. Built in the early 14th century by a local lord, it was known as Castle Grebe. Grebe. Grebbe.
Grebe.
A fortress guarding the river crossing opposite Velden. Over the years, the castle saw its share of conflicts. It was besieged multiple times and left scarred by war, gradually falling into ruin by the late 16th century. Around 1568, at the outbreak of the Dutch Revolt, known as the 80 Years' War, Castle Grebe was laid to rubble by Spanish forces, leaving only 2 shattered towers and a fragment of a wall atop the hill. From then on, locals grimly nicknamed it the Broken Castle, a once formidable stronghold reduced to a husk of broken stories. In the decades that followed, the ruined hill cast long shadow over Grubbenvorst. Children played among the tumbled bricks, and travelers on the road to nearby Blerick passed the forlorn sight with a shiver. The castle's remain became a stage for stories and superstition. By the late 1500s, the broken towers were already ancient ruins, silent witnesses to secrets of the past. It is on this eerie hilltop that a tragic saga unfolded. The saga that gave birth to the Lady in White. So this, I'm going to tell you, and I was able to find this in a story format. So this is the story of Gertrude, the Lady in White.
Okay.
Nice.
So our story begins in the late 16th century, not long after Castle Grebe was reduced to rubble. At that time, a simple timber frame inn stood in the village, run by a hardworking husband and wife. They had a daughter named Gertrude, a young serving maid known for her kind eyes and lively spirit. Gertrude's life was ordinary, filled with chores at her parents' tavern. Herberg is what it was called. until fate brought an unexpected guest to their door. On a mid-autumn day, a young knight arrived in Grubenvorst seeking refuge. His name was Robert, a nobleman from a far-off realm, and he was on the run from what no one could say for sure. Gertruda's parents welcomed the weary knight into their inn for a night's shelter. Robert was a handsome man with shoulder-length blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, polite and well-spoken. So unlike the local village boys that Gertruda couldn't help but be intrigued. He too took notice of the innkeeper's daughter serving up his supper by the hearth. In the flicker of lantern light, as Gertruda brought bowls of stew, Robert would smile and steal a few courteous words with her. It wasn't long before a spark of infatuation kindled between them.
Oh, that's cute.
But Robert carried heavy burdens. At night, he was tormented by dark dreams and sleeplessness. He often would slip out under the moon and wander up to the abandoned castle on the hill. There, amid the crumbling archways in the ivy-choked stones, he found a strange solace. The ruined halls and the quiet darkness seemed to calm his troubled mind, providing an escape for his unnamed fears. On those midnight walks amongst the ruin, only with the hoot of an owl or the sigh of a wind for company, Robert felt at peace, unaware that destiny was quietly weaving a web around him. Back in the village, Gertruda's parents saw an opportunity in a dashing young noble's affection for their daughter. A lord in a family would be a great honor, and might improve the fortunes of the entire town. They urged Gertruda to encourage Robert's courtship. The obedient daughter, raised to respect her parents' wishes, agreed to return the knight's affections. Before long, Robert fell deeply in love with Gertruda, and under her parents' approving gaze, he eventually asked for her hand. In public, Gertruda blushed and accepted the nobleman's proposal. It seemed fairy tale in the making. A village girl and a blue-blooded knight brought together by chance. Yet, Gertruda's heart was not as free as it seemed. Unbeknownst to Robert, she had been long promised to another. Sejeng, or S-J-E-N-G. I don't know how to say that name. That's Jeng. I'll just call him Jeng.
Cool.
For story purposes. Jeng, the blacksmith's son, was Gertruda's childhood friend and sweetheart. Their families had an understanding that the two would marry one day, a match between the innkeeper's daughter and the local smith's heir. Gertruda cared for Jeng and, left to her own devices, might happily have become his wife. But Robert's arrival put her in an impossible position. Caught between love and duty, Gertruda wavered. The allure of Robert's gentle manners and the prospects of his noble status offered enticed her, yet she could not bear to break Jeng's heart. For a time, she tried to please everyone by keeping two promises at once. Never turns out well.
Nope.
In secret, she remained devoted to Jeng, assuring him that her engagement to Robert was just a charade. To Robert, she played the role of the enamored bride-to-be, unable to find the courage to tell him the truth, especially with her parents so keen on the match. As the days went by, the tension coiled in this quiet triangle. Robert, sensitive and perceptive, began to sense something amiss. Though deeply in love, he noticed Gertruda's subtle hesitations and furtive glances between her and the young smith at the marketplace. Villagers gossiped in hushed tones, and poor Jeng found himself mocked by some who knew that an outsider noble seemed to be stealing his girl away. Hurt and jealousy simmered within Jeng, while Gertruda grew anxious under the weight of her deception. Then came the fateful night that would seal all of their destinies. It was late, a clear night, with the moon hanging over the broken castle's silhouette. Robert, unable to sleep as usual, had gone off for one of his moonlit strolls among the ruins. At the same time, Gertruda slipped from her house and met Jeng by the river's edge. Desperate for a private moment, the two lovers took a small rowboat across the Maas to the foot of the castle hill. They often met there in secret, thinking the ruins a safe haven for their rendezvous, but on this night, Robert was already there, a lone figure pacing among the half-collapsed walls under the moon. On the shadows, he overheard voices carrying through the still air. "You will be my wife, not his." Robert froze, the heated voice of Jeng's coming from just beyond the tower. He crept closer, heart pounding, and peered behind a crumbling arch. In a clearing by the broken tower, he saw Gertruda and Jeng locked in a tense argument. Jeng's tone was angry and wounded. He was confronting Gertruda about her behavior with the stranger. Robert's blood ran cold as he heard his beloved's voice answer in despair. "Why are you so jealous? You know I only love you, not him." Gertruda's words, meant to soothe Jeng, stuck Robert like a dagger. And then came the fatal admission that made the young knight's world collapse. We'll both benefit from his fortune after I marry him.
You go there.
Ouch.
Be messing with this girl, you
So-
gotta be paid.
As you can imagine, for a heartbeat, Robert could scarcely believe his ears. The woman he adored was planning to marry him only for his wealth, all while loving another man. The revelation ignited a sudden, terrible rage in his chest. Robert stepped out from the shadows, face contorted with pain, screaming, "You deceiver!" A voice echoing off the ancient stones, a cry of anguish and fury. Gertruda whirled around, her eyes wide in shock. In that instant, all of the pent-up tensions of the triangle exploded into violence. Robert charged towards them, heartbreak giving way to blind anger. Jen, seeing the knight lunging, reacted instinctively. He seized a loose chunk of masonry from the ground, and with a roar, the blacksmith's son swung the stone with all of his might and struck Robert squarely on the side of the head. A sickening crack rang out into the night. Robert staggered, a short, sharp cry escaping his lips as blood darkened his golden hair. He teetered for a moment, then collapsed backwards over the edge of a collapsed cellar pit, one of the gaping voids in the ruin. With a thud, the knight's body hit the bottom of the pit and went still. Gertruda stood horror-struck, her world spinning around her. The scene was lit by the pale moonlight. Robert's form lay twisted among the stones. Jeng was panting in shock with what he had just done, and an eerie silence that followed. Only the distant rush of the river could be heard. Gertruda found herself creeping towards the rim of the pit, looking down at the broken body of the man who was moments ago had professed love for her. As tears filled her eyes, Robert's fingers twitched. He was still alive, but barely. The gravely wounded knight fixed Gertruda with a final wrathful stare. Gathering his fading strength, he spat out a curse. Gotta tie in the Baba Yaga somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Woe upon you, faithless girl. Never shall you find rest. You will wander this place for eternity. His last words were a venomous hiss. With that, Robert's body slackened, and he moved no more. The young nobleman died beneath the ruins of this ancestral castle, betrayal and heartbreak etched onto his face. Gertruda let out a wail in the darkness. Overwhelmed by terror and guilt, she turned and fled into the night. Jeng's panicked shouts echoed after her, but Gertruda did not stop. She ran down the hill, stumbling through the brush, Robert's dreadful curse pounding in her ears. And the days that followed, tragedy could not be concealed. Robert's corpse was discovered, and the broken-hearted Jeng confessed his role in the fatal confrontation. He was arrested and hauled off to a dungeon to await judgment. Gertruda, however, would not live to face earthly justice. The knight's dying curse pursued her swiftly. Mere days after Robert's death, Gertruda was struck with an inexplicable malady. A raging fever consumed her. She tossed and moaned in delirium. The local doctor was baffled by her illness. No remedy could save her, and within 3 days, Gertruda succumbed, passing away in a haze of feverish regret.
Jesus.
So, not long after Gertruda's death, whispers began to spread around Grebnivorst late at night. The travelers along the road by the ruined castle reported glimpsing a female figure in white drifting among the mossy stones. Farmhands spoke of hearing forlorn weeping carried on the wind near the old castle hill. Soon, the villagers knew the truth. Gertruda's spirit was unable to find peace, just as Robert had cursed. Her ghost was doomed to wander the broken castle ruin for all eternity. They call her the White Lady. On clear moonlit nights, she could sometimes be seen pacing amongst the crumbled wall, a pale silhouette in a flowing white shroud, searching for peace that she should never have. Witnesses described her as a mournful apparition, hands clasped as if in prayer, her face hidden under a long veil of dark hair. Often she appeared near the stroke of midnight, the hour, it was said, of her final betrayal and death. Some claimed to have heard her sobs echo in stillness, or to have felt a sudden chill when passing by the mound, as if the White Lady were watching unseen. Gertruda's restless ghost became a fixture of local lore, a warning and a wonder all at once. In the ensuing years, various strange and inexplicable events around the broken castle gave weight to the legend. Many began to believe that Gertruda's curse had not only bound her own spirit, but also cast a pall over the surrounding land. There are tales of misfortune linked to the White Lady's presence. One well-known story tells of a brash farmer who, after too many ales at the tavern, boasted that he would dance with the White Lady if he ever met her. Not long after, the unfortunate man was found dead under mysterious circumstances, his body discovered near the ruins with no obvious cause of death.
Goodness gracious.
Dance with the devil in the moonlight.
Mhm.
During World War II, a German tank unit stationed close to the castle met an eerie fate. The tank was reportedly destroyed on that spot in an inexplicable explosion, fueling rumors that the White Lady did not take kindly to intruders in her domain. In more recent times, locals point to the unusual not high number of traffic accidents on the quiet road that winds past the ruins. Cars have swerved off the lane on clear, dry nights as if drivers were startled by something unseen. Many a crash have been attributed to Gertruda's wandering spirit suddenly just appearing before motorists. This happens in a lot of places.
Yeah.
It's a common story with like the hitchhiking ghosts,
Yep.
if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Whether one believes in these stories or not, such incidents have only cemented the castle's reputation as one of the most haunted sites in the Netherlands. Yet, despite the fear that these stories can evoke, the White Lady of the Broken Castle is not viewed solely as a malevolent ghost. Over time, people of Grebenvorst have came to understand Gertrude's tragedy and even seek her protection. In local folklore, she gradually transformed from a cursed wraith into a sort of spectral guardian of the village. They say she scares away anyone who would wish harm on Grebenvorst. Indeed, legend suggests that Gertrude's spirit has frightened off bandits, troublemakers through the centuries, silently defending her hometown as penance for her sins. Now, this is where it turns into a fun, hey, we should go there. And to any of our listeners, and again, I picked the Netherlands because we just had a large influx of listeners from the Netherlands. This is in your homeland. Round about October, this is where it gets interesting. Every year in late October, the village of Grebenvorst comes alive to honor its legendary White Lady. What began as perhaps an effort to appease Gertrude's spirits has evolved into a beloved cultural celebration. The event is called the Wit-Dam Festival. It's the White Lady Festival. It transforms the town into a scene straight out of the Middle Ages. For one weekend, the modern world falls away and Grebenvorst Street glow with torchlight and old world atmosphere. During the festival, the entire village center becomes a medieval village. Like literally, they have the coolest Ren Fair on the planet.
Okay.
Locals don elaborate period costumes, from peasants to blacksmiths to knights to ladies, immersing themselves in the 16th century life that Gertrude once knew. The ruins of the broken castle provide a dramatic backdrop as medieval tents and market stalls pop up, showcasing traditional crafts and food. Visitors can wander through straw-strewn lanes and even peek inside recreated medieval houses to experience how people lived in Gertrude's time. The air is filled with the sound of flutes and fiddles playing old folk tunes while townsfolk perform dances from days long past.
Nice.
Some of the festival's activities include a historic theater performance, costume actors, stage scenes of local history and the legend of the White Lady, bringing them to life bringing to life the medieval love tragedy on the very soil where it occurred. The audience watches by flickering candlelight as Gertrude's story is told every year. Medieval market and crafts. The town square is filled with stalls selling handmade goods from blacksmiths, forged trinkets, to baked bread and aged cheeses. Artisans demonstrate old crafts, and children can try their hand at candle making or archery, stepping back in time. Folk bands playing lute, drum, and fiddle roam the streets, leading villagers in traditional dances. The joyful noise echoes off the ancient walls, a lively counterpoint to the silence of the ruins. And they also have the living history exhibits. As the festival reaches its climax, a hush often falls over the crowd. Attention turns towards the broken castle ruins on the hill. In the darkness, a lone White Lady figure appears, a woman in a billowing white gown holding a lantern. Is it a performer, or could it be Gertrude's own ghost coming to join the revelry? The world may never know. But in that moment, it seems like it would be a really cool fucking moment for the end of the night.
Heck yeah. Okay, we gotta go. That's the
Alright.
coolest shit ever.
Yeah, I go to a Ren Fair in the Netherlands for sure.
If anybody,
sure.
You actually had me at Ren Fair. So
if anybody lives in a close enough driving vicinity to that particular town and wouldn't mind us bunking with them for a weekend, let us know.
And
They have a good
legit,
hotel.
like they have their own website for the White Lady Festival. Like it
nice.
goes on every year.
That's very fucking cool.
And they have a
Very
map to the
cool.
town, and don't get me wrong, like so, and that's the thing, like to an extent, if you look at like Grubbin Forest today, architecturally, it still kind of looks like a medieval, like it's still all stonework, right? You don't see American houses there. It's
Yeah.
all like the old stone
Yeah.
buildings and this and that. So it's probably like minuscule effort to like turn that into like an old medieval
I
city.
think that's awesome. That's a great story. It's a great reason for the town to have a festival. It's the whole thing is just great. That's good stuff.
So yeah, I found the most revered White Lady. I mean, after all, she's got an annual festival.
That's
for her.
pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. And that story is incredibly sad.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Great story. I loved it.
I'm looking up tickets to the Netherlands.
We're going.
To be fair, if you are in the area just by chance, and like I said, we have listeners from Germany, we have listeners from the Netherlands, obviously, Spain, like all around there. If you're in the area and you're close enough to it, I think they said the festival is at the end of October every year. It's for like a week or a weekend at the end of October. And according to the festival website itself, the last information they had, tickets were only like 10 euros.
Man, that ain't bad at all. Go. Spend some money at the local vendors, people who work hard to bring you really cool stuff and, help the town out. Tourism is good for money, and stories like that should be told and retold, so that's pretty awesome.
It's really like right up both of our alleys, right?
Yeah.
Like I would just spend a fucking week there. We can ghost hunt some haunted castle ruins.
Heck yeah.
And then spend the weekend before we leave just doing a giant medieval fair right there.
That's honestly pretty phenomenal. I loved that story. That's good stuff.
Fairly cheap tickets there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prices are going down on flights. Really, they are.
I'm fine with that. Because things were out of control for a while.
Right.
I mean, other than the passports.
Right.
We can, yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure that out, whatever. But yeah, if you have been to this festival or you are near it and plan to go, let us know. Take some photos. I would absolutely love to see them. I'd love to hear your experience. I think that's really cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I would be down for going to that. Seems like a fun vacation time.
Heck
for
yeah.
sure.
Different kind of trip, right?
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, we could still ghost hunt, but like we just went to like kind of a medieval village to begin with
Mm-hmm.
to go to a Ren Fair.
Lots of history, lots of good stuff. Right up my alley. I love it.
Yeah. No, digging it. All
Cool.
stories were good this week.
I need like a wealthier D&D group so we can just all go.
Just go. We'll just go.
Oh shit, man.
Well, guys and gals, that was our episode for today.
Yeah.
Poor Joe has to get out of here and head to work for the rest of the friggin' night here very shortly.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yes, I know, I'm sorry. And then Alex has to get to work and I have to clean my house because that's what I do on the weekends. So yeah, don't forget that you can always reach out to us and say hello on Facebook, No Lights Paranormal, No Lights Paranormal on LinkedIn, No Lights Para, P-A-R-A, on X. We've got the YouTube's channel, No Lights Paranormal, which some things will be getting uploaded here pretty soon. I did get some permission from the homeowner of the private investigation last night to upload some stuff, so long as, we're just not going to be letting you know, like, what the address is and things like that, because that's not what we do. So yeah, there will be more. There will be fun stuff. Keep an eyeball open.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting stuff coming through.
So I think we had a great time with this one. Just a reminder, next week we got the round table coming up where we will discuss superstitions.
Yes. Yes. All superstitions.
Superstition.
And just some fun ones, and some of them, a lot of them, probably how they pertain to what we do anyway.
Oh, I already
Sure.
got a story lined up for it, so.
I actually have several ideas. I didn't go just one direction, but I kind of squirreled a little.
It's a spider web. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we all do it.
But
It's
again,
true.
we love you. Netherlands, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for listening to us, guys. We appreciate you.
All you guys have a great night, and don't fuck with the Baba Yaga.
You make a Ren Fair of it.